Good morning.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, Nakia, how are you this morning?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for bearing with us as we put together the last final technical elements on this coffee chat today. So like we talked about, the coffee chat is an opportunity for us to kind of have an open discussion and share that discussion with our membership about things that are happening within our associations, within the industry, and just let people hear what we're seeing and thinking, and then give them the opportunity to ask some questions. And so our topic today is going to be, what are leaders made of? And we're going to be talking about leadership within the associations at the local level, at the state level, and maybe touch a little bit even on the national level. And so I'm Sarah Anderson, president of HCAR, Howard County Association of Realtors. Most of you already know me. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce the president of the Greater Baltimore Board of Realtors, Nakia Evans. And Nakia, would you like to take a moment and introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about who you are and your role at GBBR and within the industry?
Yes, of course. Well, thank you first and foremost for having me as your special guest for your, it's like a podcast, a live Zoom, a talk show. As anyone in this industry will know, I love to talk. So I'm going to be your perfect guest today, okay? So I am Nakia Evans. I am currently serving as the president of the Greater Baltimore Board of Realtors. I've been in the industry since 2002. I am that agent that brokers talk about, that dual career. I started as that dual career agent. I had a full-time job and I did real estate all the way up until 2015, when I decided to take the GRI course, the GRI designation course. And then I finally learned that real estate was a business. And that if I ran this as a business, that I didn't have to be dual career. I could actually just have a career in real estate, run it as a business, and become successful. So from 2015 until currently and presently right now, I've been running real estate as a business. I've been a servant leader, volunteering at our local boards, our state boards, and even national, and just helping other real estate agents get into the business and get up and running in the business, and even becoming successful in the business. And I think we're going to elaborate through our conversation, so I'll stop right there.
No, and I really appreciate what you just told everybody, because your story is the story, I think, that so many people kind of gloss over, where that the dual career agent, right, builds themselves up and creates success and, you know, goes on to have a wonderful full-time successful business within the real estate industry. And I think for some of our newer members and newer agents to hear that there is a path forward there, and that path can involve industry leadership in helping them create success is super important. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that. I'll just remind everyone that if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. And if we don't answer them as we go along, we'll try and answer them at the end of this. We're going to talk through about 9:30, and then we'll leave some time for questions up until about 9:45. So again, thank you for sharing that. So can you tell me, at what point, like, what made you decide that you wanted to volunteer as a leader with your association? Like, what was the turning point moment? Where did the light bulb click on? And then where did you start?
Actually, somebody helped me get started. Patty Kohlmeyer. A lot of you probably know her. She was a leader at our local board. She was a leader in the community. She was my broker manager. And I think she saw me struggling to get business, or she saw me bored in the office all the time. I was just like the person that came to the office every day to kind of get inspired, to kind of see what other agents were doing, and kind of just to talk to other agents, or just really wait for the business. or we used to have desk duty. So I used to volunteer for desk duty because I was looking for business. So she saw I was bored one day. She was leaving the office and going to the Board of Realtors. And she's like, hey, you want to go to the Board of Realtors with me? I'm going to a meeting. And I'm like, sure. I don't have anything else better to do, right? So I was like, I'll go. And I think she knew in the back of her mind that if I saw what was going on at the board, that I would probably get interested. So we as leaders in the industry, we call that tap on the shoulder. So she tapped me on the shoulder, and in the back of her mind, or even in the front of her mind, she thought that I would probably make a good leader, or a good servant leader, and a good volunteer at our local board. So she pushed me to go along with her and see everything in action. And believe it or not, that first time I went, I sat in a committee meeting. She was on the education committee, and I guess they could bring someone to tag along with them at the time. But when I sat in that meeting, I looked around the room and I saw people that I admired, people that were successful in business. And I was like, oh, this might be the secret. So I said, maybe, just maybe, if I duplicate them, or I just do what they're doing, maybe my business would take off a little bit better. I sat right next to another industry legend in Maryland, Beth Engel. I sat right next to her. She was on one side, Patty Colemeyer was on the other side. And come to find out later, Beth and I shared the same birthday. Okay, so we kind of have the same thought process. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to be like these two ladies and everybody else around this room. So I'm going to volunteer, or see if I could now volunteer and join the education committee, because I wanted to be like these two ladies and everybody around the room. So that's really how I got started with our local board. It's just by somebody saying, hey, you look bored, come with me, and hopefully you might like this. It was that simple, really.
And that's awesome, because that's a great story of somebody that you admired being willing to tap you on the shoulder and say, come with me, I'm going to show you something. Yeah. And then, you as a new agent getting engaged because somebody reached out to you in that way. And what a great committee to start with, education, because as dual career and someone that's trying to build their professional base, you're now getting to have a say in the conversation about what sort of programming your association is going to offer to agents, right? So your voice is getting heard, you're creating value for your fellow members, and you're creating value for yourself because you're participating in the committee, but also absorbing knowledge from those people that you admired, that, that had that industry experience. So thank you so much for sharing that. And my path, that goes a little bit of the same way. Like, I wasn't really doing the business that I wanted. I tried to find a way to kind of get engaged so that I was fully submerged in real estate. And once you do that, that's when it really starts to kind of take off. And then you get that tap on the shoulder from someone that says, hey, maybe, you're in this committee, but maybe it's time to think about some other roles as well where you can be effective. So industry people that tap on the shoulder, inviting someone to volunteer is super important. Let me ask you, is there any particular highlight that stands out for you in your volunteer leadership career? Is there a moment where you really just felt that your contributions super mattered in that situation, or just a successful leadership moment that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so mine is gonna be very different, okay?
I like to
I feel like the point that I was the most happiest and I felt the most successful is when my children could say that their mom was president of something. And that was in 2019. I became president of the Women's Council of Realtors for Greater Baltimore. And I think at that point, when I first heard my children say that my mom is the president, that made me the happiest ever. Because a lot of people may not know, but if you ever ask the age of my kids and my age, you'll find out I was a teenage mom, right? So my children grew up with a teenage mom and a working mom that was also dual career. So I had 2 careers. I never really struggled, but I always made things happen. So I was busy a lot. And so when they realized the turning point or the reason why I was so busy is that I was working up until these moments where I could make them proud. So my happiest moment in leadership is when they could say that their mom was president of something
Nice.
big, not just president, of the PTA, but something that helped the larger or a large scale community. And when you're at these boards, you may be something locally, but that also grandfathers you into the state and then grandfathers you into the national. So they knew that even though I was taking this first level of leadership and I had reached a point of where we would consider, the highest point locally, that I was also involved statewide and nationally. So that really made me that was the happiest point in my leadership career, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. And that's a great moment. And it's always nice when, our family members and friends can share in the pride of the achievements that we've made. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you just touched on something. You started to touch on how when you're involved locally, it spreads to the state and national levels. So I want to talk a little bit very briefly about the state association's Maryland REALTORS Leadership Academy, because we are both graduates of that program and we both went through it, and it's a wonderful program. So let me ask you, what motivated you to go ahead and apply for the program once you decided to do that?
So as I said, I'm very curious. I am the person who needs to know everything. Once I get involved, I don't want to just know my part. I want to know everybody's part. I want to know everybody's responsibility. Sometimes I even want to know how to do everybody's tasks. Okay. So I felt like learning attending and graduating from the Maryland Leadership Academy would teach me how to be a total leader. And what I found is not only did it teach me how to be a leader in our industry, it taught me how to be a leader of my own life, personally, professionally, and even anywhere I could go or would go. They taught me leadership skills. They taught me how to communicate. They probably taught me how to talk on this Zoom right now, right? They taught me how to listen. They taught me the reasons why, the behind the scenes of what goes on at our associations locally, statewide, and nationally. And I think that moment in time, because it was over a year, the Maryland, we went 8 months, 9 months?
Yeah.
Those months of steady attendance and steady learning of different topics and different skill sets helped in every aspect of our lives. Like, I can go anywhere and be a leader. I now can speak in front of 5,500 people on stage for an hour. I now have the mindset that I believe I could do anything. Remember when we broke that board and
Yes.
we put our minds to it and we knew that we could do anything at that moment. So Maryland Leadership, the very specific reason I went to Maryland Leadership Academy, because I was in the roadmap to becoming president of our board. I was already Women's Council president, but I knew that I wanted more, and I knew that I wanted to go further. And I knew in order to be successful while going further, I needed more resources, more knowledge, more education. And I needed to know what else there was to this. Not only, Women's Council, but what's on the other side, what's at the boards and the associations, and at national, they touched on national association as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. This is one of the largest trade associations in the world. And especially when, you're only peeling back local layers, it's hard to understand the full scope of what's involved. So that was a really eye-opening thing. And I remember in our class, what you touched on with the communication was so important. I remember doing this exercise where they asked us all to draw a penny, right? Mm-hmm. Draw a penny, and everybody came up with something slightly different, but nothing was totally incorrect. So it's just, you know, working to communicate and have effective collaboration in understand other people's perspective, and then being able to deliver that to get everybody to work together to deliver the feedback. It was really amazing. And then of course breaking the board at the end was so fun. It's just the satisfaction of knowing that you can accomplish something that you didn't really think you were capable of doing.
Yeah.
And then the energy of being surrounded by like-minded people, you know, everybody in that room, everybody in that course of 9 or 10 months or whatever it was there to say, okay, I am committed to serving the industry, which has served me in my career, right? It's a commitment to taking the next steps. And then the education, of course, that you get, the public speaking skills, all of those things were invaluable. And hopefully all of the attendees, I know a bunch of people in my class brought those skills back to their local association and are still serving our local members now. So,
And Sarah, I just want to tell you that right now, I don't know if I could pull it out while we're on the call, but right now I want to tell you that I have my notes from Leadership Academy right beside me. It's my daily method of operation. And if you want, I'll see if I can flip really fast to that drawing of the penny, because I believe it's right in here. I saw it recently and it's somewhere in this notepad, but I keep my notes very close to me because these notes have been important to my leadership career, it's so important that I use them to run my business, and I use them every now and again to share when I'm leading others. So the Maryland Leadership Academy was so much more than just leading these boards and volunteering at our boards. They gave us the skills that we can go so much further in life, that it's been amazing to reflect back and to reflect forward. I'm actually at the Greater Baltimore Board of Realtors. I'm creating an event that's going to take those 8 or 9 months and compress it into one day, into a boot camp. And in order to tap other leaders on their shoulders and see if this is something that they want to do. So I had to pull these notes out and say, oh, what am I going to talk about on that day? Or what do I want other leaders in our industry to talk to the new leaders about? So these notes and that penny, I'm telling you, is something special. And we're going to hold this near and dear to our hearts forever.
So you said 2 great things that I want to ask you about right there, just 2 wonderful nuggets. You talked about reflecting back and reflecting forward, right? And it is so important. And that's one of the things that we kind of start to learn as leaders, whether we're taught it or we just kind of figure it out, is that at the beginning of the process, you need to write what your vision is going to be for the end, right? Where are you going to be at the start of this leadership journey, and where are you going to be at the end of a year? And being able to pull those notes out and say, oh, this is what I wrote in January, and check on it. Like you check on it in April, you check on it in June, and say, how am I getting to that goal? And then to, you know, come to the end of the year or the session or whatever it is and say, oh my gosh, look at what we accomplished, right? Maybe there's some things that are still on the agenda for next year, but to be able to track your success and share that success with the people that helped you achieve it is super awesome. The other thing you mentioned is your leadership boot camp coming up in, I think you said May.
Yes.
And that's so exciting because you guys are going to be offering your own educational opportunity for people interested in a leadership course. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So in the industry, I've been known to host boot camps to help other agents. And in my former life, I was a broker manager and I was recruiting. So I used a boot camp style event in order to recruit agents. And that was my thing. That was my signature event, boot camp. And as presidents, Sarah, we get to have a signature event for our board. And so for my signature event, I was like, okay, I got to bring a little Nakia into the board and a little something that I feel important. And education and professionalism and professional development. Those are my 3 things that I'm just so passionate about. And I was like, how can I put all of this together and fit it into one event, right? Because I could
Nice.
go on for months with this, but how can I fit it into one signature event? And just thinking and again, reflecting and knowing how much impact the Maryland Leadership Academy had on my life and my business moving forward, I said, why not? Why not do a boot camp / leadership academy? And why not have people get a feel, get a taste of what we did in 8 or 9 months. So I talked to my leadership team, and then we talked to the staff at our board, and we came up with spring into leadership, because first of all, it was supposed to be in March, the beginning of spring, right? But we know we got a little delays because of the pandemic. But we wanted people to really, spring into leadership. So we talked, we discussed, we came up with an agenda. It's going to be fun. It's going to be funny. It's going to be exciting, not your boring workshop that's like 9 to 5. So we're going to give lunch. We're going to give breakfast, snacks, and we're going to have leaders, current leaders, come into the room and share information and share experiences, their personal experiences in leadership, and go through some of the topics that we learned at the Leadership Academy. So that's my signature event for the year. I'm so happy, and I can barely sleep just waiting and knowing that it is 33 days away from right now. I'm on a countdown, and I'm pretty excited about it. I've invited you to attend because I want you I want to collaborate with you, and I want to be in the same space with you often, as often as we can.
That is a mutual feeling.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I'm so excited about it. And for anyone that's been to Leadership Academy, you guys know how we feel about it, but I'm going to compress that into one day, because as you guys know, I'm like speed lightning. And I really think that I could turn that academy into a boot camp. I'm going to test the waters.
Well, I think your boot camp sounds really exciting, and I'm super happy to help you in any way we can with that and participate in that. And I think you just highlighted something that's really important, and that's just having all your leaders within your association in that room together, working on the same thing for a set amount of time is going to create relationship within those leaders. Yes. And when you have people that are getting together to create those relationships, they're going to be able to work more effectively on your board, on your committees, in whatever capacity they serve in. So it's great that you guys are giving them that opportunity. We did something, it wasn't quite a boot camp, but we definitely did like a leadership day where a bunch of our board members and our committee chairs got together, and we did a couple team building exercises, one of which was assembling IKEA furniture, which was hilarious. And then we talked a lot about the vulnerability that leaders need to have with each other sometimes, so that we can fully understand perspectives. So you guys, you're going to deliver so much great content.
I like that idea. I think I'm going to steal that idea and put that into, I host retreats, and I think I'm going to do that on a retreat a time or two, and IKEA is perfect.
I'm happy to tell you all about that offline. It was really funny, and there's some really great pictures on our association website from that.
I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah. So we've got a little bit of time left. So tell me, as a leader, what are a couple of the skills that you find are skills or traits that you find are most valuable to have in a leader?
Okay. The first one that I learned fast, or I learned it fast, but I had to keep reminding myself, 2 things, empathy and listening. And I'm going to say empathy, and I said that first, and I'm going to keep saying it first, is because not everybody is the same, and you can't judge a book by its cover, and you have to have a level of understanding of lots of different people. As leaders, we come in contact with so many different people and so many different things and so many different problems, that really the empathy is needed first. But right on top of that is listening. Okay. Listen, 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 and listen. Listen, because I say that all day, every day. Listening for us as leaders as well, we have to also know that it's sometimes reading and reading social media and staying in the know and knowing what's going on and understanding what's going on in our industry and watching the people that are in our industry and watching what they do and seeing how they feel. And then again, understanding where they are coming from when they come to these conclusions or when they get these perspectives or when they form these opinions, right?
Right.
So listening and empathy go hand in hand, and those are the two top. But then again, here comes that communication again. We have to know how to communicate with people. We have to know how to understand what's being communicated to us. We have to understand the why. We have to know what to say and when to say it, and more importantly, when not to say it. Okay, or when not to react, or when not to do something. So the communication is not only what you're saying and what you're hearing and what you're responding to, but it's so important to know when not to respond or when to not say something. I think that's the hardest part. That might be a skill you need, but it's also the hardest part of leadership, is to take your hat off. I know, we have to take our hat off in our leadership positions. We have to get rid of our brand. We have to get rid of our business sometimes. We bring our business sense, but we check our business at the door when we become leaders. We leave our opinions at the door when we become leaders. We serve for the greater good of the membership. And it's not only about us, it's not only about the leaders, it's not only about the people that volunteer. It's really so much more. It's more about the members and how we can help the members, and how we can help the members, again, communicate what they want and what they need. We represent our members, and we have to we as volunteers on our board, we have to communicate what the general membership needs, what they want, and really what they want to say. So It's empathy, it's listening, and it's communication. Those are the three top things that we as leaders have to be very conscious of. And those are the three skills that we need to learn immediately and even before we take on leadership positions.
Those are excellent skills, and they certainly tie in with some of the things we've talked about. And the empathy, the listening, and the communication, that ties in the ability to, have the active listening skills, be willing to really listen to perspectives that are different from your own. And I think one of this, I don't know if this is a skill, but just something that we should be making sure that we're including across all of our associations, is being able to tap people to put them in leadership roles whose opinions and views might be different from ours, right? Because there's not just one flavor of realtor out there. Everybody's got different sort of business styles and plans and is serving different sorts of clients. So I think we need to be really intentional about making sure those folks are included in the leadership conversations to make sure that we're serving the whole of our association. And then making sure different backgrounds make it into the conversation too. Like, there's room for the dual entry career leader. There's room to consider the perspective of someone that might only be 6 months into the industry and is saying, hey, this would be something that I could need that will help me succeed. And then of course you want the experience, right, of the people that are top producing and doing a lot of volume, but also the experience of the people that have some institutional knowledge of the association, right? Like, well, hey, you're going down this path right now to achieve these things, but just so you know, we did try something similar a few years ago and here was the outcome. So here's my feedback that I want you to take into consideration. It's just the whole pattern of making sure that all of the perspectives you get will lead to an idea that's better than what you would get if there was limited perspective involved. So that's, I see that happening in a lot of organizations now, and I think it's kind of exciting. So, yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned that volunteering as a leader means representing the group instead of your own interests, and you have to take off the hat of, Sarah Anderson, realtor, and put on the hat of Sarah Anderson, member and president of Howard County Association. And what that means is being willing to sometimes have things go forward that you don't necessarily think are the best but this is the decision the association came to, the group came to, and is what you're going to deliver. And at least see how that goes, right, before you make the changes to it. So how has that, being able to be flexible in that manner, how has developing that skill helped to enhance your life? Like that, being able to flex.
Okay. So again, listening, it has increased my listening skills.
Okay.
Probably negotiation skills, because in our board meetings, in our committee meetings, we often have to negotiate to get to the point that we have to get to the end point or get to the end goal. So being able to sit in meetings and hear opinions that you don't agree with, sometimes it helps us to fix our game face. Because now we gotta put on a game face sometimes too, with just a regular face, right? We can't make faces. You can't know what I'm thinking. So it's helped me there because in personal life, I tend to show off with my face what I'm thinking. So I've had to fix that in leadership. So it's helped me to develop that skill, right? Overall, being in a room full of different people and opinionated people, it's helped me to gain respect for people too. When you just see people and you see them at a networking happy hour or something, you may not have a level of respect for them that they deserve. But if you sit down and listen to them talk, if you hear their opinions, if you hear their way of thinking, if you hear their reasoning, you can really develop a level of respect for them or a new liking to them. It may be somebody that you had a terrible negotiation with in a deal, but now you're sitting in a room and you actually share the same opinion about putting on an event like the Leadership Academy, or putting together a podcast or a live Zoom like this. You never know. You can't judge the book by its cover. Right. You have to get into it. And sitting in those rooms with people that are different has allowed me to learn a lot about people and learn about different cultures, learn how other people think. So I think that's what I get the most out of these meetings, these meetups, and these negotiation meetings, because really our board meetings, we got to vote. We got to hear people's opinion. We got to negotiate down to something that everybody or the majority will agree on, right? So it's really increased a lot of life skills that I can have in the meeting and outside the meeting.
I like that you specifically mentioned negotiation, because that is like the backbone of what every real estate, every realtor does, is negotiate. And so, if volunteer leadership can enhance your negotiation skills, within the association, that's going to translate into how well you can negotiate in your career and in representing your clients. So that's a really excellent point. And I think there's another point to this where obviously, the main volunteer drivers are to want to give back to the industry, lead within the industry, make sure the industry is protective, and make sure the industry is representing our members' interests. But also it's going to deliver value to you personally in terms of your professional development, in terms of increasing your professional network, like you and me getting the chance to meet. There's just so many other elements that the volunteer leadership is going to deliver to you. So we've got a few more minutes left. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. So let's talk for a brief minute about some of the different ways to participate. I've been on committees, I've chaired a committee, I'm on the board, I've been on a task force. There's all different kinds of ways to get involved. Do you have any recommendations as what a good entry point would be for someone trying to get more involved with their local association?
Yes. So again, I suggest, and I really suggest things that I've done, that I've experienced in, right? So I started out in our education committee and our membership committee. Because to be honest with you, I didn't know what the membership benefits were. I knew I had to pay the dues, but I didn't know what I got in exchange or return. So again, I'm the type of person, I need to learn everything. So I felt like serving on the membership committee would help me to understand the benefits. And then I could translate that information to our members. So I thought that I should get strong in membership. So I actually started on two committees, education and membership. Now, those two things at our local board also could transition at Women's Council. Women's Council is a little, niche. It's for the advancement of women to become leaders in our industry, right? So I could take the education and the membership committee experience and move it into Women's Council. So I quickly moved from just GBBR to GBBR and our Women's Council. And believe it or not, Sarah, the best position at Women's Council was the registration table. I got to meet people. So I'm going to suggest that if people want to volunteer, if people want to meet people, if new agents want to meet agents that have been in the business for a while, sign up for registration. And as president or incoming president of our board at our last Realtor Fair, I worked the registration booth. I volunteered at the registration booth because I felt it was important that the president should meet all the members, and we had 5,000 plus members. I know I can't do it in just 12 months, but I thought at serving again at the registration table, at CE registration, at Women's Council, even when I was the president of Women's Council, I sat at the registration table where people had to sign in and show their ID to get into a CE class. And I did that over and over again. So I could meet people, so I could talk to people, because y'all see, I like to talk, right? So I could talk to people. I didn't just sit around and do nothing, but the registration table at any of your board's events is a great place to start. And committee-wise, education and membership, because I was passionate, I wanted to know things. Pick something that you're passionate about. If you are like, say an attorney is new in real estate, they're passionate about the law, right? So legislative committees would be a great place for that person to start. Pick your passion, use your passion. What energizes you? What wakes you up in the morning? Ask yourself that question first, and then have someone like Sarah help you to match that up to a committee, or call the board, call the front desk at your board and ask them, where would I best use my skills and my talents to help you guys? Find out where you fit in and where they could use your help. The boards could use the members' help. That is key for you guys to understand. We need your talent. We need your energy. We need your passion to help us execute the things that we want to execute, to make this a better industry, to make the board a better board. We need your passion and your talent. And I think that's so key. Also, at Women's Council, I helped to develop a volunteer form that simply asks the members, what are you best at? Are you best at taking something to your office and making copies of? Are you best at speaking in the public? Are you best at finding us guest speakers for events? What are your talents? So again, match your talent, match your passion, match your energy, and that's where you should get started at your board.
I love that idea that you just mentioned of almost creating a skills library of the volunteers. And then when something comes up, that person, they have the connections to the speakers and the leaders. Let's talk to this person and see who they might know on this topic. Like that's a brilliant idea. And then something you mentioned, I think is just really important to highlight. And that's when you were a newer member, you joined membership and education to start learning about the full benefits that the association offers you. I think that whenever somebody joins a committee, gets involved in another way, all it does is enhance their membership. Because like you said, you come into an association kind of new and you're paying dues, and you know what some of it's for, but you don't know what all of it's for. So when you jump in and you get your feet wet and you start engaging with the day-to-day, week-to-week practices of the association, you start to know the workings, and you know where you need to go to further your career, to deliver value, to deliver input, because you now know the workings of the association. So if you want to get the best bang for your buck that you have to pay in dues, involvement is paramount, right? In my personal opinion, the involvement is paramount, because everything that association is doing is going to affect you whether you like it or not. So, so be part of those effects, have that perspective. So awesome. I don't see any questions in the chat. I would just take this as a moment to remind people, like, this is a call for participation. We want to see you at the Howard County Association of Realtors. We want to ask you questions about what committee you think would best serve you and how you could best serve us. We want to see you participating at the Greater Baltimore Board. We want to see you on committees and leading with Nakia. So if there are any questions or anything we can do to help you understand what that process is, and help you maybe understand how, if you wanted to participate at the local level, how you can also affect change at the state level, we're happy to have those conversations with you. So yes. I still don't see any questions. I know, Nakia, you have another meeting to hop off to for this. So thank you so much for making the time today. I enjoyed our conversation. I can't wait to do it in person in May.
Oh, yes. So thank you. Let's thank everybody that joined us today, whether they are here live now or if they're going to watch this recording. Yeah. Thank you for taking your time to spend with us, to learn a little more about me and Sarah, to learn a little more about what leaders are made of, or how you can step into leadership. We love spending time with you. We all wish we could spend more time with you, but of course we do have businesses to run. So we do got to stay busy ourselves. But please, please, please make sure you attend our events. Make sure you are collaborating. This is a collaboration between two boards. This is probably unheard of in our industry in a lot of different places. But Sarah and I want to collaborate. We want to take these two boards to the next level together. We want to make sure that realtors understand that they are a team at some point. Oh my goodness, we didn't get into that. I won't, because
it's a whole nother thing.
Well, we are a team. We are working together to make this industry a better place, to make the experience of the consumer, to make property rights, a thing, to let people know that they have rights when it comes to real estate. We all should be working together and coming together at some point in time in our career. Don't be a secret agent. Don't stay to yourself. Get out there, network, meet new people, meet the president of the board. We're regular people. Meet us, talk to us, hang out with us. We love our members, and we definitely want to stay in touch and help you the best way we can and the best way that our boards can. So thanks to everyone who's listening, who's watched, who hung out with us for 43 minutes. We're excited, and we're going to make this industry better. One person, one member, one board, one state, one nation, all together, all the time. So thank you so much. And thank you, Sarah. Thank you, HCAR. I'm excited to watch the replay of this. So I will see you guys soon. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Nakia. We really appreciate you making the time, and thank you for everybody who logged on. And we will look forward to seeing you around the association and on our next coffee chat next month. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.